And welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 5 films that make up May 9th, 2014. A lot of them were not very good, with a couple of exceptions that we'll get to in just a little bit here. But let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is, of course, Neighbors. You have Kelly and Mac, played by Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen, who are settling down in the quiet neighborhood with their unborn child until frat brothers move into the house next door. And Teddy, played by Zac Efron, who's the president, and Pete, who's his right-hand man. And they're quick to accept friendship when Kelly and Mac introduce themselves as the neighbors. Now, after that, though, Mac asks Teddy to lower the fraternity's noise, even accepting the invitation to the party one evening when Teddy goes back on his word to keep the partying down. Mac calls the police to deal with the problem. The police quickly blame Mac for their presence, and the war begins. As the family feud with the frat brothers, things get hilariously dangerous as the fraternity ends up on thin ice with their college. After receiving their final warning of being placed on probation, Mac and Kelly pull the prank so ingenious that Teddy and Mac are forced to respond. All hell breaks loose, from Robert De Niro's parties to crazy Christopher Mintz-Plasse having sex in the bushes. This comedy shows how things can go wrong really quickly with a family and a frat house becoming neighbors. Now, is it just me, or does this remind me of that Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi movie of the same name called Neighbors? The movie that you never even heard of until I probably mentioned it to you. Back in the day, I never really enjoyed it, but I've watched it again recently. It's not as bad as I made it out to be. I made it out to be this terrible movie, but the more I realized it with John Belushi's movies back in the day, he never played the same character in all of his movies. When you look back at his movies like Continental Divide, the drama he did with Carrie Fisher, I think it was Boyfriends or something like that. And this movie too, which is funny because it's Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi swapping the roles you would expect them to play. Dan Aykroyd's playing the obnoxious neighbor, and John Belushi's playing the straight guy in it. And I was actually kind of surprised at how much I found this movie enjoyable more recently when I watched it again. It's actually not that bad that I made it out to be, but I brought it up because when I did my original review for it, I called that one a terrible movie and said that this one is definitely a lot better than that. I would still say that, but this one, but I will say that I'll give the 81 Neighbors movie more credit for actually being more fun overall than I thought it was beforehand. Going back to this movie, though, this was a really, really funny movie. I mean, you saw me kind of snickering at the end of that trailer there. That bit where Seth Rogen is sitting down in his work chair, and then he just blows up and he goes right into the ceiling. Like, that moment, which is followed by another really funny moment after that, which is not in that commercial. That's one of my favorite moments in the movie, man. Just how it just comes out of nowhere and just takes you completely by surprise, and it's just... I mean, this is a funny movie, man. It's one of those movies that does start off slow. The first 10 minutes of Rogen and Byrne being that most obnoxious couple ever really did get annoying pretty quickly, but as soon as the frat comes in, then the movie kicks into high gear and was nothing but straight up hilarity for the majority of the film. Not to say that I didn't like the two of them in this movie. Far from it. I thought they were actually pretty good, but that first 10 minutes where they're just using stupid phrases, doing the couples things, like they're trying to have sex while the baby keeps looking at him. It's just kind of like, it's that awkward comedy that just does not work. And we're going to get to another movie after this that is nothing but awkward comedy, and it's on that type of a level, but like I said, it's better after that, but I'm sorry. I think parents who just had a child would be smart enough to try to have sex away from the child. You have a baby monitor for a reason. Put them in the room and then go to town. And if the baby starts going up, it's just like, hey, we got to stop for a second because the baby's going up. It's like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, yeah, it made me look at this and go like, oh God, is this movie going to be really torturous to watch? But no. Once the frat came into the picture, then the movie started getting good again. I mean, while watching this film, I couldn't help but wonder, am I crazy for rooting for the frat more than the couple with the kid? Because clearly, the film is going for the couple because they were there first, and but the frat is much smarter and more organized than the couple was. Like the scene where they have the water damage and they decide to make sex toys out of their dicks and then make tons of money off of it. I mean, it's not even Adult House could even think of that. But then again, it was back in the 60s, man. And surprisingly, who broke out and had the best moments in the film was Zac Efron. I mean, I've always thought he was a great actor, even in movies that were not that great. Charlie St. Cloud's one of those examples. But he was great in stuff like 17 Again, Me and Orson Welles, Liberal Arts. And he had been kind of on a downward spiral since then. And, he started the year off in one of the worst movies of the year, that awkward moment. But, man, he's back in full force in this movie. He carries the film along with delivering some of the funniest moments in the movie. This is the movie where you want to see him play that jackass we saw in that awkward moment. And in here, he does everything he does in that movie would have been fine because that's the kind of character he is, but not in the serious comedy like that awkward moment. And another person that really did surprise me was Dave Franco. And keep in mind, he was still kind of a rising star at this point. You know, he had just come off of his work on the last season of Scrubs, and then he was on 21 Jump Street. But he really does give a very good and very funny performance. And luckily, he's been used in other films since then, not just comedies, but more recently in horror films, like the movie he did with Allison Brie Together. But, you have a lot of good comedic actors in this movie, too. Ike Barinholtz, Carla Gallo, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Gerard Carmichael, Lisa Kudrow, Hannibal Buress, Jake Johnson. For some reason, Natasha Leggero's in here for like a 5-second cameo. I mean, she might have been reprising that character she did on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where she was one of the strippers who was giving Charlie a free lap dance after his leg injury. This is like way back in the early days of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like the first episode of season 2. It was actually the first one with Danny DeVito joining the cast, but that's another thing altogether. But the comedy ranges from the gross-out humor, such as the scene where Seth Rogen has to milk the booze out of Rose Byrne's tits, which is actually a lot more funnier than how I described it, to the Looney Tunes-style humor, like that airbag scene. That is just so damn hilarious. A lot of these jokes work very well. You got another great one where they have Jason Mantzoukas, Dirty Randy from The League, telling Rogen and Burr that their daughter had HIV, is what would have happened if the condom she had been eating had been used, and Rose Byrne's reaction to hearing that is just straight up priceless. When I heard that for the first time, I was laughing my ass off big time in this. I mean, this is a really, really funny movie, man. It was one of the strongest and funniest comedies I'd seen in a long, long time, and I had just seen the Lego Movie, and that's one of those great movies I saw in 2014. It's right up there with stuff like Ted. It's just a really funny movie with a lot of great jokes. Great performances from the actors, a great story, just a really great, solid comedy. It's a great movie, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's worth checking out. So what's that other movie that had nothing but awkward comedy? Well, it's a movie made by a Christian company, so that should give you your first warning sign right there. It's Mom's Night Out.
Tonight is our night, and we look good.
I cannot find a reservation.
I just want to sit down with my friends without 3 little people clawing all over me.
You're getting a little angry, and it's doing something ugly to your face.
Yeah, I think it's time we need to bring it back out. Excuse me 1 second. Yeah, I think you need to come back.
Comedy.
Because this is exactly the type of movie where he has to come back into play here. Oh my god, what the hell is this movie's problem? Well, first of all, this is directed by the Erwin brothers, the same people who are now kind of the kings of Christian movie making, because these are the guys that just recently did Jesus Revolution, American Underdog, which was probably the best overall film, the Kurt Warner movie, I can only imagine. And this is what happens when you when you try to be a raunchy night out comedy, but it's made for the faith-based audiences, and it fails miserably, to the point where even the faith-based audiences don't want nothing to do with this. This movie centers around 3 moms attempting to get away and have a nice night out together, and the pandemonium that ensues as everyone's plan goes awry. It's basically a faith-based version of Adventures in Babysitting and Date Night. Like, who the fuck wants to see that? And I'm sorry for swearing like that, but I'm sorry. Who wants to see that? I mean, the problem with this whole thing is that you have to have a movie where this is the type of movie where the comedy has to come from the misery of the situation in general. That's why movies like Adventures in Babysitting and Date Night worked as well as they did. You can't make a movie where the comedy has to be about misery when you're making a faith-based movie. It just doesn't happen. It's just and you see it in the trailer right there. It's nothing but bad, lame comedy, and people just talking fast for no particular reason, because if you talk fast, that's actually supposed to be very funny to these people, and no, it's not. There's just nothing about this film that's funny or hilarious or just worth it. It's a waste of time and your patience and your money, because this is a film that has nothing of value to it whatsoever. Just go and watch Adventures in Babysitting and Date Night. I mean, there's no reason to watch this film. It's so bad that even the Christian audiences this thing was targeted for said, "Oh, we're not going to go see this." Like, it flopped pretty hard at the box office. So yeah. That's your first mistake right there. Is that if you can't even make a movie for your target audience that they're going to enjoy, then it shouldn't have been made in the first goddamn place. Again, sorry for swearing, but yeah, that's the God honest truth here. So. Yeah, not a good movie at all. Mom's Night Out. So let's go ahead and, we're keeping up with the shit train this week, and that is with the animated feature Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return.
Monkey. Legends of Oz, rated PG in 3D May 9th.
You know, for those people back in 1985 that were so pissed off at the fact that how dare Disney make a Wizard of Oz sequel that's as dark as hell, and you know, like, and it's just like, the more I see these movies that try to capture the spirit of Wizard of Oz in between this and in between Return to Oz and Wicked, the more I'm just like, yeah, you deserve to rot in hell for even getting mad about Return to Oz, because this is the biggest insult to the Wizard of Oz, bar none. So, in the Land of Oz, the Emerald City's co-leaders, the Scarecrow, Tin Woodman, and the Cowardly Lion, discover that an evil jester has stolen the broomstick of his sister, the late Wicked Witch of the West, and takes control of the flying monkeys. With Oz's future at stake, the Scarecrow decides to use his invention called the Rainbow Mower to summon Dorothy Gale to save the kingdom again. However, flying monkeys invade the castle and force the trio out the window. In Kansas, Dorothy's farm has been wrecked by a tornado, leaving it in disrepair. A sleazy man claiming to be a government appraisal arrives and condemns the farmhouse, handing the Gales an eviction notice. Dorothy discovers people all across town have been handed the same notices and moving on. Dorothy and Toto encounter a rainbow which transports them back to Oz, but not to the Emerald City as intended. What the hell is going on in this movie, man? Like, this movie is all over the goddamn place, and this movie's basic idea is that let's stack as many big cast voice actors as we can. We got Lea Michele, we got Dan Aykroyd, we got Jim Belushi, Kelsey Grammer, Oliver Platt, Megan Hilty, Hugh Dancy, Patrick Stewart, Martin Short. This will cover up the garbage movie that's here? No, it really doesn't. And I mean, to its credit, it does have one funny scene with the jester played by Martin Short. The whole thing about, like, every time he rips off his shirt, it's a completely different shirt altogether. It's just like, I can't take this suit off. Like, or it's just, that was probably the funniest thing about it. But, I mean, really, you can look at this movie and look at that and go like, yeah, this was clearly made by a studio that was coming up, had no real money to it, so they went out to go get some money from people, and yeah, it didn't work out so well. In fact, it ended up performing so badly that the studio that put this out, it went down because of it. Well, excuse me, sorry. Well, here's what happens when you spend $70 million on a movie like this, and you think you're going to make that back in the middle of summertime, with all the big blockbusters coming out. Yeah, you clearly have missed it. You clearly have failed miserably at what we're trying to do. I mean, it also didn't help that this movie had a lawsuit going forward where the producers of the movie scammed at least 1,800 different investors in order to finance the movie. They ended up raising more than $122 million, despite only using $70 million, and some of those funds were actually used to promote the career of one of the producers, Greg Santino's son, Noah Centino, who you recently found out he's going to be starring in he was in Black Adam, he's going to be in Street Fighter playing Ken Masters. And yeah, this was a guy that basically his career started because of the money that the people behind this movie were using to fund the film. And it's just kind of like, yeah, that's your warning sign right there that, yeah, this is a disaster waiting to happen. And it didn't help that the movie just looks bad. It feels unnecessary. There's nothing about this film that says it needed to be seen. It's just a terrible film. It's a film that doesn't work. It's a god-awful movie. It's a bad film. It's a really, really terrible film, plain and simple. So, let's go ahead and get back to some good movies. We have our next film that we have here, a much better movie with an all-star cast. This is Chef.
It's different.
No, that's what I understand.
We're going to go tasting menu.
Carl,
a tasting menu tonight for Ramsey Michelle.
I know, but we have to.
He's coming here. Everybody knows about it. Did you see the Eater article?
I did.
It's all over the internet.
For you.
It's great.
You know, I love it
food.
so much when you get like this. I really do, but I just
bring in the wait staff. Have them taste the food. I want them to understand what we're going for.
Okay.
Okay. We're not pushing specials today. The whole menu is special.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm finally happy.
Before I go on with my review here, a little word of advice, Open Road Films. Don't say that that's a TV spot, because that was clearly a clip from the movie, and yeah, that was not a TV spot, plain and simple. Like, seriously, why even bother saying it's a TV spot instead of just saying it's a clip from the movie? I mean, I don't get that, but I'll let it slide, because you did make not only was this a good movie, this is a really, really damn good movie. So this is Jon Favreau coming off of the Iron Man movies. And Cowboys and Aliens, and especially after Cowboys and Aliens was a big flop. He essentially went back to making a short, simple movie, or as he calls it, going back to basics and creating a film about cooking. So in this movie, he stars as a celebrity chef who quits his job at a popular Los Angeles restaurant following a public altercation with a film critic and begins to operate a food truck with his friends and his young son. You have a cast that also includes Sofia Vergara, John Leguizamo, Scarlett Johansson, Oliver Platt, Amy Sedaris, Bobby Cannavale, MJ Anthony, Dustin Hoffman, and even Robert Downey Jr. is in the film as well. And definitely by that trailer, that clip I just showed you, you can definitely get a sense that the people who created the bear, took this movie as inspiration. I mean, how could you not? I mean, it literally looked like something straight out of The Bear in that format there, except with a much more grislier tone. And this time, instead of it taking place in a food truck, it's in a restaurant. Bear's pretty awesome, and so is this movie. It's a really good film where the actors really do show off what they can do as well. It's a really smart, funny script overall by Jon Favreau, and again, it's a nice return to form for him after coming off of something as underwhelming as Cowboys versus Aliens, and it's basically, a return to form for him with this particular film, Cowboys and Aliens. I cannot talk today. Cowboys and Aliens is the movie I was talking about, not Cowboys versus Aliens. Cowboys versus Aliens probably could have been a much more intriguing film, but yeah, the movie works because of how well the cast works off each other, the good story in general here, and again, it does show kind of a precursor of what the film in general would eventually lead to with a show like The Bear. I think it's a very entertaining film. I think it's a well-made film. Definitely one of Jon Favreau's best films in general. I got John Harbaugh on the mind because I'm watching NFL Network after the games today, but I digress. But bottom line, Jon Favreau's chef was pretty awesome. Let's just go with that. How about that? Good film, really good film overall. Highly recommend checking it out. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is Gia Coppola's newest film at that point, Palo Alto.
But there's always a reason.
So these are based off of stories by James Franco, who also stars in the film alongside Emma Roberts, Jack Kilmer, Nat Wolff, Zoe Levine, Chris Messina, Keegan Allen, Val Kilmer, and the feature film debut for Margaret Qualley, who of course now is known for her works like The Nice Guys and The Substance. And this movie concerns a group of disaffected teenagers in a California suburb dealing with lust, boredom, and self-destruction. Now, I touched on Gia Coppola recently because she made a really good movie with The Last Showgirl. The first two films she did were not the greatest overall. I think out of the three films she did, this is probably my second favorite of the one, even though I think The Last Showgirl definitely is the strongest one, and Mainstream's kind of like the third one on here. I think it's fine overall. It does show a lot of promise of what she can do as a director here, and it's a real good showcase for these young actors, especially Emma Roberts, Nat Wolff, Zoe Levine. A lot of good young performances in here. You also have Talia Shire showing up in the film as well. It's a good movie overall. Not a great film, but definitely a film that has a lot of good stuff about it, especially with the performances and just getting a sense of you being in the city with these characters and you're getting attached to what they're going through here. I thought the film worked very well. I think it's an enjoyable movie. Not a great film overall, but I like it. Palo Alto is definitely one worth checking out. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we take a look at two movies. We have Gareth Edwards' Godzilla, which was a movie that was heavily hyped to be the film that was finally going to fix Godzilla after 16 years of the Roland Emmerich movie being etched in our memories. And it did, but not without its complicated issues, specifically the fact that Godzilla is not even the star of his own movie. It's basically Walter White. Hey, Jesse Pinkman was in a movie this spring, so I guess Walter White's got to have his leading role in this movie. But we'll take a look at that, and we'll also take a look at John Hamm starring in $1 Million Arm, the latest Disney feature from director Craig Gillespie. So, Disney sports film, but directed by Craig Gillespie. So, two films to take a look at next time around, and we'll delve into those next time on the show here. That'll be tomorrow. But, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So, with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.